Greetings, everyone. I'm Michael Nagler, and I'm speaking to you from the Metta Center for Nonviolence. I want to wish you a happy new year and address a question that is on the minds of many of the people that we hear from and that are working with us. And that question is, what are we going to do about this violence? There have been 61 mass slayings in this country in between the one in Columbine High School in Ohio in 1999 and the recent tragedy in Connecticut, which was in many ways the worst of all. There were 20 of our innocent children were lost in that episode. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we should not do what a lot of our fellow citizens are trying to do about it, which is to rush out and get a gun to defend yourself. The problem is, first of all, it doesn't really defend us. The fact is that you're much more likely to lose that gun to an intruder or, God forbid, have someone in your own family be killed. Secondly, it sends the wrong message. It says people are just bound to be violent, and the only way you can defend yourselves is by using more violence against them. And third of all, it doesn't address the problem. It addresses your problem, maybe, if you imagine that you can defend yourself with this gun, but it doesn't change the fact that the world is becoming a much more violent place. So not to do that doesn't mean we can't do anything. On the contrary, here at Metta, we've been working for many years now on a scheme which starts with what each individual one of us can do and builds that out into a grand strategy that can really change the world, that can really give us safety, security, and the kind of nonviolent future that at heart we really all want and that many of us here at Metta anyway deeply believe in. So it starts with you. It starts with the individual, and that's good news. We don't have to wait for legislators to act. Legislators have a lot that they can do. Gun safety is very helpful, as we saw in the parallel case in Henan, China, that took place on the same day, almost the same number of children. Those children were wounded rather than killed. That's a help. But like we said before, it doesn't change the fact that those children were traumatized by violence. So what can we do as individuals while we are working on our legislators and so forth? 5 things. This is a distillation of some years of work that we've done here at the Metta Center in collaboration with some of our friends elsewhere. First thing is, let's not just get the weapons of violence out of people's hands, let's get the idea of violence out of people's heads. Let's not expose ourselves to the vast amount of violent propaganda that we've come to take for granted in our mass media. I went to a movie recently. It was a fun movie, Barbra Streisand, lots of fun, perfectly innocent. But the trailers, one violent scene after another. It was like 10 minutes of hate. I would forego going to a Barbra Streisand movie if it meant that I had to expose my mind to that kind of violence. And I would recommend that you do that also. Studies have shown that these violent images make us feel worse and make us behave more violently. Studies have also shown that if we fill our mind with positive imagery, it makes us feel better and makes the world more nonviolent. It's just good science and spiritual wisdom to boot. So this gives us 2 things that we can do. 1, not expose ourselves to the violent imagery of the mass media. 2, learn everything that we can about nonviolence. It's a very rich subject. We've got a lot of material about it here at the Metta Center that we'll be happy to share with you. That's 2 things, and they really make a big difference. The third thing is, if you haven't already done so, think about getting a spiritual practice like meditation. That means really contacting the sources of compassion and wisdom inside of ourselves. The fourth thing is, get out and interact with people in a more personal way. It's not a coincidence that the people who commit these acts of mass violence have been loners. They feel very isolated. Let's overcome that by interacting warmly with one another, looking for ways to serve, looking for ways to help. Just talking to people instead of interacting with them at a distance. Put down your iPhone. Go on out to a cafe and sit and talk with some friends. It's been shown that if you go to a farmer's market, you're going to have 10 times more conversations than if you just walk through the line at a supermarket and check out your goodies. So when you've done all 4 of these things, you're ready to undertake the 5th, which is to assess your own talents and your own passions and ask yourself, how can I engage in the world to make it a better place? This can be pretty bewildering. If you ever have read Paul Hawken's book, Blessed Unrest, you know that there are literally more than 1 million good projects out there. So what do you do? Well, we've created a very ambitious scheme called Roadmap, which gives you a kind of map of where these issues are in the world, where we can get engaged, how to do it, first of all, by looking for constructive ways to change the picture, and then looking to ways of nonviolent resistance where we have to. That's a very Gandhian scheme. But you'll also notice on Roadmap, which you can see on our website, and there's going to be an interactive tool very soon for you to get engaged with it personally and find other people and find resources and so forth. But you'll notice something quite interesting about Roadmap, and that is one of the arcs, one of the major sectors on our scheme is what we call new story creation. The story that we tell ourselves through the mass media is that we're separate from one another, we're basically material creatures, and that we have to get satisfaction in the outside world. Very good for advertising, very bad for the planet, very bad for our personal psychological health. So I hope that you'll come and visit us at the Roadmap and the Metta Center. You'll see the new story that we're calling a story of belonging that we've created to energize this new picture, that you'll try these 5 steps, get in touch with us, and let me end again by saying Happy New Year, and I really look forward to working with you to create the kind of new year and the kind of new world that we really want. Thank you very much.